This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Let's go right to it. Let's grade the rooms. We recently broke down how we would rank the rooms in order of like the rooms we're most confident in and least confident in or had the most questions about. We got a couple of comments saying, man, it would be really helpful if you guys could basically do this again, but just grade each room. So we're just going to go top to bottom, quarterback to special teams, right? And run through each position group. And, you know, we've given our thoughts on this, so we don't have to like belabor the point, but we're going to give it like a 1 to 100 on a grade, you know, kind of an A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, F, right? How we would grade the room. And it's not real scientific. You don't have to, you don't have to give me a decimal point, Richie, on this. But yeah, maybe just some of your thoughts on why you think the room is what you think it is and kind of go from there. If you want to be more focused on like the guy, I don't care if, however you want to do this is fine, but just justify it. If you want to say that quarterback is an A because of, oh, well, they got everybody that's there and then the guys that are being whatever. But I'm talking more about like the play on the field this year, not necessarily, well, I bumped the quarterback room up because Luke's there and they had a 4-star walk on. So the room's great. It is. The room is great. I think I want to focus this more on like play on the field that we expect, not, oh, well, they've recruited the room really well and it'll be good and it'll be elite in 2 years. So, like, they don't get much credit for Luke this year. Unless you think, like, somehow Luke plays a lot this year. Then I'm fine with you using it there. But if that makes sense, I don't really care about the room completely, more so like the guys that'll be on the field. So do you want to start or how you want to go?
Yeah, so do you want to do letter grades or percentage or like 0 to 100, like you said?
Yeah, either way. I was going to say if you did a number, like that would correlate with a letter too. So like if you gave the quarterback room a 90, like that's an A minus B plus type thing to me.
All right, cool.
That's what we can start. I don't care. If you don't want to do numbers, that's fine.
No, we'll start with the quarterback. I'll go with an 83.5. I think, DJ is a good starting quarterback. I think he's going to be challenged unless receivers step up. But Brock Glenn, he did what he had to do against Louisville. Granted, Lawrence Toafili kind of won that game for us. So I'm not uber confident if DJU goes down, but I do like DJ a lot as a starter. I don't think he's an A-plus type quarterback, maybe even not an A-minus. I need to see what he can do with the weapons he has. So again, that, slightly B-minus, closer to a B.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit higher because I am going to, I do have maybe a little bit more confidence in Brock, but I'm projecting here, but I think DJ is going to have a pretty good year. And so I'm going to go like 87. So like B plus for me for sure. Slightly higher. I would not be surprised if we did this again at the end of the year and we said, man, he got up to a 90, 91 kind of range. I think DJ's a pretty, like, for all the doubters and all the people in the national media that say, like, oh, just can't, he's going to be great, but then he's going to be awful at other. Like, he's still a pretty consensus, like, top 20-ish quarterback in the country.
Yeah.
I've seen him on CBS Sports lists, ESPN lists, PFF lists, like, wherever you look and whichever source you like the best. And he's always, like, top 20, top 25, top, inside the top 15 on a couple. With that said, like, to me, that's like B plus range, right? Not quite A, not top 10. But if you're like around that top 15-ish mark, top 20, I think you're probably B plus, B plus, somewhere in there. So yeah, I'd go 87. I'll keep it for running back. I'll go running back A. Like, I don't know that I'm going to go A plus. The only reason I'm not going A plus is just because I don't know that there's one guy there like a Dalvin Cook, right? And so like if you had a Dalvin, 2013 was an A plus because you had Devontae and James Wilder Jr. and Carlos Wade. Like, that was a ridiculous room that had like 3 NFL guys in it. And I need to see a little more before I'm ready to go A plus on this room. I think when you're 5 deep and you've got this much talent, the room could be your best. I mean, it could be your best room on the entire team. So easy A for me. 95, 96, whatever.
Yeah, I'll agree. 95-ish, right? Just the depth of the running back room. You don't have that Dalvin Cook. You don't have that Saquon Barkley. That Heisman hopeful, so to speak.
Yeah, just first round guy.
But you have a lot of really good talent to where and we obviously never want anybody to get hurt. But if someone goes down, you're like, okay, you hope he gets better, obviously, but that's not a big deal because we got 4 other guys that are ready to go. And just hearing what we've been hearing out of camp about some of these running backs that a lot of people have not been talking about. Yeah, this room is a, I'll say 95, TJ. I agree. Not an A plus, but definitely not an A minus either.
Yeah, no, there and if Lawrence Toafili makes some of the strides we think that he might have made, then maybe it is a little higher. So, all right, this is gonna be fun. You want to do wide receiver now, or you want to save it?
Let's do it now.
All right. Yeah. Do you want to go, or you can go first if you want?
I'll start it off. I'll say let's say a 77, so like a C plus, because I think there's a ton of potential that this group could actually end up being like a 90, like an A minus, even an A by the end of the season. We just have no idea. Ja'Kai Douglas, I think, is Mr. Consistency. I'm excited to see him in this offense, but we know what he is. He's not a game breaker. He's not going to take the top off the offense. He had that amazing play against Notre Dame and Doak in 2021. But at the same time, I just don't think we just don't know what this group is. So I have a hard time giving them anything better than a C plus right now.
Yeah, I think if you were to combine these rooms, wide receiver, tight end, I could maybe be a little higher because I could lump Morlock into it and maybe some of those other guys that you kind of trust. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty fair. I would go 80, so I'd go right at an 80 and call it, as I'll politician it and as straddle the fence as you can, as much as you can, between C plus and B minus. I do think that when the lights are on, remember when David Hale ranked us 14 out of 14 on wide receivers, and we just knew that it was going to be terrible. I don't really think it's going to be that bad.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
So this team has potential. There's
the potential's there.
That team had no potential.
And again, I'm projecting, right? So I'm not telling, I'm telling you, what I think they're going to end up being this year is like a B minus and if they exceed expectations and they're around a B, then I'll be excited about that. But I think they'll be about B minus, right? I think, and I think if you look at I don't know, we're not NCAA ranking, or EA Sports ranking them and stuff. But I think if you were to take the room in general, you'd have a bunch of 80 wide receivers, or a bunch of 79, 81s, somewhere in between there. Nobody that's just, out of this world, Peter Warwick elite. But no, you're not dealing with a bunch of 64s or anything, dumb like that. So I don't know, maybe I'm a smidge higher than you, but yeah, C plus, B minus. 80 is just kind of my nice even grade because I'm not going lower than that today. So tight end, I'll go a little higher on tight end. I'll go 84 on tight end, which ironically is more like number. But I think the tight end room is good. It's around a B for me. I feel good about the tight end room. I think Thomas can make a little bit of an impact this year. I know he's a little bit banged up now, but I think Amari Williams, could as well. Just both super athletic freaks, and I think Morlock's had a good fall, and 84 for me in this room.
I'll go slightly higher, 86. I'll give this room a B plus, just because of what we just talked about with the receivers. I think Mike Norvell, you look at his history, he finds ways to incorporate tight ends into it. He upset number 5 North Carolina by getting Preston Daniel the ball on a huge explosive play. I think he's going to do a lot of that. He's not going to just rely on the receivers. Florida State will be heavy on the run game. That is a fact. We know that. But I do think we see more from the tight ends this year. I think we would have saw more last year if Jaheim Bell wasn't as banged up as he was towards the end of the season. That Jaheim Bell we saw against LSU was not the same Jaheim Bell we saw the last 8 games of the season. I really do like this tight end room. I think they could be very useful and might even win you a game. So, I think what I said, 87. B plus.
I'll let you keep it for offensive line.
I'm going 92 with a chance to be 95 plus. So I'll say not quite an A minus, but A leaning towards A minus. But man, this is the most excited I've been about an offensive line at Florida State in a very long time. I think they have options at all 5 positions, and they also have the backups if a guy goes down, which always does happen on the offensive line. You're going to lose a guy or two for 2-3 weeks, maybe for the season. You don't hate to see it, but it could happen. But man, I love what Alex Atkins has done in building this offensive line. I'm very, very high on this offensive line. Probably my second highest group on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, so I'm going to go flat 90 here. So straddling the fence again, B plus, A minus. Maybe just because I've been high on other stuff. I'm really high on the offensive line. Again, it's going to be one of the higher position groups that I rank. I just need to see it, kind of thing. Wide receivers, I feel like DJ could kind of elevate their play, and Norvell's scheming is going to elevate their play some too. Offensive line, like you either block guys or you don't. Like you either put guys in the dirt or you either protect your quarterback or you don't. So I need to see it. I'm still extremely high and think that I'm probably underselling them some, but trying to be somewhat cautiously optimistic. But 90, I'm 2 points lower than you, so I'm not crushing them or anything. Yeah. But yeah, straddling the fence again between like a B plus and A minus, and will not be surprised at all if this group is a solid A minus A by the time we get through the year and have had a month or two to kind of see what they've done. For comparison, like I would have had last year's offensive line as like a B minus. The year before that, I probably would have had it right around the same, B minus. But then before that, it would have been like a D every year. So yeah, we're trending up there, and I feel good about this offensive line. And I'd love to look back on these and be like, wow, you severely underrated the offensive line. So, but I think 90 is pretty fair.
Yeah.
Other side of the ball, you want to do long snapper or no? No, we'll pass.
No.
Sorry to my guy. Defensive,
A plus. Let's go.
We'll get right back to the video in just a moment, but I want to give some love to BetUS. Guys, I've told you about this, but we are less than 2 weeks away from the season, and you need to check out the link in my description right now. They have a 125% deposit match. That's up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. So if you deposit $500 and then you deposit another $500, then you deposit $1,000, you get that same match up to $2,000 across 3 deposits, not a one-time only thing like most places. They have all the best odds. You look right now at the national championship odds. You look right now at the Heisman odds. Their website is super easy to use, and they've got the best customer service in the game. Use my link in the description at BetUS and make sure that you are playing responsibly this year and making money with us. Thank you guys for your support, BetUS, and hopefully you guys will check them out. Defensive end, we'll lump him into special teams here in a minute. Defensive end, I'll go... I'd love a little bit more depth, but I'll go A minus here. Like I'll be fair with that. 91, maybe 92. Let's go up 2 more from the offensive line. I feel really good about your top 2 guys. Probably feel good about your like top 3. I wish there was a tad more depth. If one of your top 2 guys was to go down, pretty significant drop off. Whereas like if one of your top offensive linemen were to go down, I think you could replace them. And so maybe just for that reason, if you had one more, like if Pat Payton was like your second bet, this would be an A plus type room. But yeah, I think 92 is pretty fair. So like solid A minus. But I need to see some of the depth step up and be really good for you. We mentioned Byron Turner in the last segment. We talked about Lohea and others. So how does that all kind of progress? What can you get out of those guys? But 92 for me on defensive end.
This might be the homer in me. I'm going to say like 97. I love what we have on the edge. Pat Payton, Marvin Jones Jr. You count in Turner and the transfer. I'm not even going to try to say his name.
Lohea. You could do it, man.
Lohea. Okay. Yeah, man. I love what we have in this room this year. And I think all the guys we just mentioned are ready to contribute this year. So to your point, when we talk about quarterback, Luke, we think there are huge things ahead of him. Not this year, though. But I think everybody we've mentioned on the defensive line or defense at defensive end, they are ready to contribute this year. And if Peyton and Jones Jr. stay healthy, man, I think you have an argument for, again, a top 5 defensive end group in the country. I'm extremely high on the edge, and we'll get to the interior, and I'm pretty high on those guys too.
Yeah, interior I'd probably have like right at the same grade as 90. Maybe a step down at 91. I'll give them 1 less. Those top 2, like Farmer and Jackson, are as legit as it gets. Again, I worry about the interior depth, maybe even a tad more than I do the exterior depth, like the defensive end or edge depth. And so because of that, I'll bump down just 1 point, still kind of an A minus. I'm still really high on this group. Like this is not, having to feel like I explain myself because I gave somebody an A minus. But yeah, 91, just a little thin behind those top 2. Love to be proven wrong on that. So, what do you got, D tackle?
Yeah, I'll say 90 just because I don't love the depth. I think you're starting to in Jackson and Farmer. I mean, TJ, we were up in Charlotte a few weeks ago and saw Joshua Farmer in person. That is a huge human being, and he's the fastest he's ever been. I love our starting two. If they both stay healthy all season and they're playing, 60, 65 snaps a game, yeah, that could you could make an argument for that being the best interior in the country, or at least top three. But I don't love the depth behind them, and unfortunately, if one of them does go down, uh, that grade goes from a 90, what I'm putting right now, to probably like an 85. So I'm putting a lot of emphasis on them staying healthy.
Yeah, becomes much tougher if that's the path we end up having to go. So hopefully it's not. All right, linebacker. This is kind of the wide receiver position of the defense. This will probably be the lowest rated. That's how I meant that. Don't read into it. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first on linebacker?
I'll go first. I'll go 81. I really like London Crier. Sean Murphy, I think, could be a nice, solid piece. But again, this is more like, for me with the receivers, it's like I need to see it before it happens. Lundy was good last year, but he wasn't a Bethune or a Deloach, right? And I don't expect him to take that role this year either. But everything I'm hearing about Cam Riley, I love. And, I'm trying not to get too high on him, but I'll stay in that B- range, 81, just because, again, I need to see it before I can buy into anything.
Yeah, I'll go slightly higher. I'll go 84. I'll go with a solid B here, right? Just above a B minus. Like I think an 84 is a B. I don't know, but I'll go 80. When I was like halfway through, when I was in school. While we're doing this, if you're this far into it, then you're probably going to stick around for the last three position groups. But when I was in school, it was always like 92 to 100 was an A, and then all of a sudden, like it just switched one year to where like it was just every tens, like 90 to 100, 80 to 90 or 80 to 89, 79 to 80. So anyway, that's what I've been kind of going on is the 10. So, but yeah, I'll go 84 here. So a solid B. Mostly because I'm so confident in Lundy. And because we run the 5-2, like a 4-2-5, like so that you only have two on the field at a time. So because of that, because you don't have to count on three guys on the field all the time, like I think they're going to be I think they're going to be pretty good. And so maybe slightly higher than you are. I'm excited about that group. We've done our front seven so far, and you're a little higher than me on the edge, but I'm at 92, 91, 84, right? And so that's pretty good, right? What's that average out to? Like 7 and 8 is, like an 80 and 8, And so, yeah, that's not bad. And to be honest with you, it's probably about to get a little bit better here. So cornerback, I think we have the best two corners in the conference. I think you have the best cornerback pair in the state. I don't really think that's up for debate. I think you have the best nickel in the state and maybe in the conference too. We'll see how Earl Little fares. I won't claim that he's the best, nickel in the state so far, but in the conference. But I love what you got there. And then again, if you get good play out of Kevin Knowles and you get good play out of some of the younger guys that are behind those guys, from Kirkland and others, other guys in the secondary that were in here last year, Quindarius Jones, and I think this room is really, really good. 94, 95, could around there, like a solid A for the cornerback position.
Yeah, I think you have potential first rounders there. No, surefire, like Jalen Ramsey type guys, but yeah, I'll say 95, a solid A with a chance to be close to damn near 100 by the end of the season if they develop. And with Pat Surtain, I think that's a possibility. They are. It's an embarrassment of riches, and this is a position group that we talked about this. If someone goes down, you're like, oh man, that really hurts. This is no slight on any of our starters or projected starters, but if one of them goes down, you still feel really good about what you have behind them. So a solid 95, solid A for me.
Yeah. Safety, I'm really high on as well. I'm probably not up to 95. I do think Shaheem Brown is the most athletic safety in the in the conference and in the state. Yeah, I'd be like 91 here. I think they're really, really good. And I need to see it. I'm hearing good things out of some of those safety guys. I really like Conrad Hussey. I really like Barker. I mean, I like Devontae Brown back there. So, yeah, I think they're in a really good spot. 91 for me feels right. Kind of straddling the line again between B plus, A minus.
Yeah, I'll go slightly lower with a 89, so a very high B plus. Love the guys, love what we've seen, love what we've heard of out of them out of camp so far. But again, it's one of those things. I need to see it happen. I project that my 89 will be in the 90s by season's end, but based on right now, this time and moment, I'm going to go with the 89, high B plus.
So this is kind of tough to do this because you're going to have to incorporate a whole bunch of things because I didn't want to go through every special teams position that existed. But I'm just going to go special teams in general, and I'll start with it and give you my reasoning. And if that gives you some time to kind of like think through what you want to say, because I didn't say we're going to do special teams when we talked about it. But I'll go 93 special teams. Like I'm really high on it. I was asked about it last night at the Seminole kickoff event in Lake County, and I talked about how Norvell's opening press conference, he mentioned how they were going to be great on special teams, and they weren't immediately. Even 2022 had some hiccups, but 2023, the special teams at Florida State was phenomenal. Mastromato, all ACC preseason. Fitzgerald's turnaround from 22 to 23 is phenomenal. I mean, they brought in another kicker, and that guy ended up having to transfer out because Fitzgerald kind of got his mojo back. I think Jalen Lucas back there returning kicks is going to be elite for you. You still have Deuceman, who took one back against Duke when you absolutely needed it last year. You are going to have to figure out a way to replace Keon Coleman, who had some really big punt returns for you. You think back to the Florida and Miami games, a couple of the biggest plays in those games were his punt returns kind of flipping the field. Against Miami, took one from like the 50 to inside their 10, and then against Florida, I think he took one from inside their 10 up across midfield. And so you are going to have to replace that. But the way that they put their athletes on special teams, the way they tackle, the way they fill gaps, the way they fill lanes, the way that they kick and punt and cover those aspects of the game, I think is really, really good. I don't even remember what the number I said was, but 92, 93, I'm somewhere in there. Like I think this is a solid A minus for the unit as a whole.
Yeah, I'll go just a notch higher and say 94. I think Mastromato is the best punter in the conference and potentially in the country. Like what he did last year, you look at his numbers, phenomenal. Ryan Fitzgerald, to your point, had a huge bounce back season. He went from a guy that a lot of Florida State fans did not even want on the roster last year to kind of Mr. Consistent, Mr. Reliable. We'd love that. And man, I'm so excited to see Jalen Lucas returning kicks. I think he's going to be so good. Keon Coleman had never returned a kick before he came to Florida State or punt, and then he came here and did what he did. I just think that this special teams is going to be very good, and you're going to need it because I don't think you're as good on offense as you were last year. I think you'll be not quite as good on defense as you were last year, but still really, really good. But that special teams, that can win a game, that can win or lose a game. And I'm excited to see it, but I think they're going to be very good. A solid A for me.
Awesome.